Hey musicians, today we're going to talk about intervals. Now, musical interval is akin to what a regular interval is. And if I said, hey, what's the interval between me and, let's just say, this camera that's right in front of me, okay? So it's about 3 feet, okay? So it's a distance, right? So a distance between one object to the next, okay? So a musical interval is very similar. It's the distance between one note and the next note, okay? And we can measure that easier on a piano and maybe a guitar, bass guitar, cello, even violin, a little bit easier than we can on a wind instrument. Only because you can't really see an interval like on a trumpet. I mean, it's an interval between a C and a D, right? Well, it's open fingers to 1 and 3, all right? So it's really hard. You know, trombone, yeah, 1 to 6. But you still don't know what that is. Now, we determine intervals by what we call steps, okay? And the steps right now, we're going to take it very basically. We're going to talk about the interval on the white keys on a piano, okay? So if we start here with just our C, so our C major scale. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, all right? So the interval between the first note of the scale and the second note of the scale, okay? So 1 to 2, we call that a second, okay? The interval between the first note of the scale and the third note of the scale, or C, D, E, we call that a third, and etc., right? C, D, E, F, fourth, to the G is the fifth, to the A is the sixth, to the B is the seventh, and then C to C is the eighth, all right? And we can keep going further, and we actually can go all the way up to 15. And once we get to 15, we don't go 16, 17, 18, I don't know, what those are, but we don't go that high, all right? So what it looks like then, let's just say, look down here on just on the treble clef. I mean, this is the treble clef for you bass clef and alto clef people, okay? So I go from C to D, again, it looks like it's a second, right? So it's going from a line to a space, okay? Then I go from C, skip the D, to the E, so from line to line is now a third, C, D, E, okay? Line to the next space, okay, C, D, E, F is a fourth, all right? And then we go line, 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 or C to G, C, D, E, F, G, is now what we call a fifth, all right? Sixth, seventh, and eighth, right? So you get that. Okay, so line to line or space to space is 3, 5, 7, okay? But space to line or line to space is 2, 4, and 6, okay, and 8. Okay, so that's one way, that's a quick way of trying to figure out what the intervals are, all right? Now, we haven't determined the quality of the intervals, just that we have the intervals, and we'll determine quality in the next video. What I mean by quality is major, minor, diminished, augmented, etc., okay? So that's important. So again, interval is a distance between two notes. Now, be very careful of one thing, and this is where a lot of people, listen up, this is where a lot of people get confused. I'll say, what's the interval between C and D? And I'll go, D. It's a 1. No, you have to start from the note you're leaving from, okay? So C, D, E is not D, E, it's a second. No, it's C, D, E, it's a third. All right, so be careful of that, because a lot of people, when they take quizzes and things like that, they'll get confused about the interval, all right? You're leaving C and going up to the next note. So C is always 1 to the second note of the scale, to the third note of the scale, the fourth, fifth, and sixth, all right? So hopefully that's helpful on that. Now, just a real quick caveat. If D was my note that I want to know what's the interval between D and F, you do the same thing, only D becomes 1, E, F becomes a 3. So there's a third. We don't know the quality yet. We just know that it's some sort of third between D and F, all right? And the next lesson we'll do will be the quality of the chords, and that's easy once we figure it out. All right? Hopefully that's helpful. Take care.